I cut off my pinky finger and second finger. This is a sillier version of what happened.
Oh no.
Hi, I'm Jordan, and today we're going to be breaking down some of my favorite shots. This is a shot from a video I made about making my studio.
The first day I moved into this studio was perfect. A new space, new ideas, new opportunities, and new neighbors.
This is a tiny miniature that's made out of Foamcore and paper, and it also has tiny little lights in it too. This is the first 30 seconds of the video, so I wanted it to be quick. In this shot, the miniature pulls away, and behind it, I brought a green sheet up in the background. It's slightly badly done because I didn't have a lot of time, but it's then green screened out, and then I animate that whole block up because I only had my set of hands. I didn't have a lot of people to do it, so that was the best way to get the sign then out of there. And then it transitions into me at my studio table. That transitions down through the floor. It's a mix of me animating it and a pulley system. In Casey Neistat's studio, he is my downstairs neighbor, and so I wanted to show like that he's right below me there. So I made this 8-foot long pulley system out of plywood. It has a camera, a little sled. This is all plywood. Then there's a little pulley at the top and me. That is then like clamped to a C-stand. And then it transitions down into Casey's studio. They sell camera sliders different places. I needed one that was really long and really cheap. And so I just decided to build one myself. It's not a good pulley system because basically the first camera I put on it was too heavy. And so it shook. It went like.
You're good.
I'm not good. I picked it up and the lens was bent in half. And I was like, oh no. Because we only had like 10 minutes with Casey. And he was like, did you break a lens? And I was like, yep. And he's like, all right, and I was like, nope, it's fine. And then I just rigged my phone up to it. And then we still got the shot. When the two shots transition to go through the floor, it's a mix of like good timing and kind of speed ramping so that you don't really notice how fast those go. Because we couldn't put the camera all the way up to Casey's ceiling. It was too tall. In my floor, there's like a box or something that the camera goes behind. If this is the pulley system, the camera starts up here, and then it goes down. And then we put a box on the floor. This is the camera. So it ends up here. So it looks like, and then I'm sitting here at my desk. So the camera looks like it disappears behind the floor, but in reality, it's just like a dark box. And then so we start again in Casey's studio, trying to get as close to the ceiling as we could, but you don't really notice it too much because it all happens so fast. To the right and left, behind camera, is my friend Gabe with a poster board, and then me over here with a poster board, and we are like fanning Casey so that all the papers on his desk blow up, and then it adds some kind of action to the shot. Later in post, added like a little bit of camera shake and stuff too, but yeah, we trashed his desk before we hit record so that then we could make it more dramatic. When it slides back up, we had to film that twice, and I did get water and pins everywhere. A lot of the stuff that I do in my videos are real. I think that when you make a video that nobody else can make, then that video becomes yours. And so I'm pretty crafty, pretty handy, so I can build things in real life and add them to my videos. And I will spend hours and hours doing it. Those are some hours that other people won't put in, so then that can make my videos unique. This shot in particular, like I built this whole Foamcore model because I wanted to give the audience a sense of what was to come without revealing all the detail of it. So at this point, the whole studio is built, and I could have just shown you a picture, but I wanted you to feel like you could see the finished vision with me in that moment without seeing it realized. And so then the rest of the video is essentially you going on a journey with me to get to the point of realizing this little miniature foam core dream. I think that anything you make analog or with your hands adds a certain texture that's unique. There's little mistakes, there's little bits. Like I probably even tied I don't know if this is the right way to tie this sign on, but that adds a look to it. The animation of it is just done with my 2 hands, so there's flaws in it, but that makes it fun, it makes it real. This shot is from the video I made about building my own narrator.
And a tourist from out of town made a critical mistake.
This is kind of the origin of the narrator. So this, as the story goes, a iPhone fell off the Empire State Building and crashed to the ground, where I found it and rescued it. This shot here is my friend Jacob and I. He's the actor whose arm this is. We are on the sidewalk in New York City, outside of my studio. One thing that's hard to recreate if you're adding any vis effects is lighting. So I wanted like the actual sunlight to come down. So this is the sun. That's coming down on his arm. He's actually facing the same way he would be if he was on top of the Empire State Building in this current shot with Hudson Yards over here. This whole thing is a composite. If you go on YouTube, you can find almost any popular place as a 360 view. Somebody has gone up there with a 360 camera and done like a 1 hour like walk around of the whole place. And so this is from one of those videos. I like found the view that would be perfectly right, screenshotted it, and then cut out this section of kind of the top of it and also this fencing. I then animated it to make it look like Jacob's arm is coming through. These pigeons work narratively to scare Jacob into dropping the phone. If you type in green screen pigeons on YouTube, you might see ones that look exactly similar to this. They worked great and they were free. And then the background here is just a Google image of Hudson Yards that I found and then added a blur to give it some depth. This shot, the phone comes here and goes, falls down into this. This whole building is a Google Maps image. There's like a picture here, another picture here, another picture here, another picture here, another picture. Give it motion blur. And then I animated that whole block to go up. This phone is me and my friend Colin in the park, dropping it in sunlight to make sure the lighting's right against a green screen in slow motion. And so then I slowed it down to make it look like it's slowly spinning. At some point in the shot, this little pigeon comes through too. He was an accident. He was left over from this shot here. He adds a little bit of depth to the whole thing. It makes it feel less monotonous, so I kept him in. When I cut in this shot, when I cut to this, it's already in motion so that you're already kind of like engaged in the fall. I wanted to show a couple frames of like hesitation from his hand being like, oh no. But then I wanted us to get right back into it in this shot so that there's stuff moving going on. A lot of my videos are planned out shot by shot. So I'll go and make a storyboard, draw the little figures, draw the angles that I want. I have a background in animation, which is what I studied in school. So there you don't have a camera to waste shots. You have to kind of plan everything out. And so we would storyboard all of our shots, and I still do that to this day. In a lot of my videos, I use either like animated artifacts or animated bits to create the story. That takes a little more time sometimes. A lot of times it's cheaper, so I can do it kind of without having to travel to a place. But also it adds a bit of kind of storybook reality to the whole video. I like creating a fantastic reality that's not exactly as we experience it. I think that's what I like about watching movies. I think that's what I like about kind of escapism, is going to, a bit of a reality that's fun, that seems like the rules are suspended, and that feels a little silly in some ways. And so animating all these bits perfectly together creates that world. I don't go crazy with my budgets. It's usually like, a couple $100 maybe. I bought, maybe a $50 green screen to put up behind this. If I needed an element to buy digitally, like if this pigeon cost $20 or something online, like I would buy it. I bought all of these bracelets, his whole costume from Chinatown, and that all maybe cost like $50. I want to put a little production behind it, but just enough to where you get a sense of the world. I think if you're making anything, the one thing you have against bigger companies or studios is your ideas. And so if you can find a creative solution to something, that makes it yours. That makes it something that other people can't get to because they're a part of a team or they need $1 million to do it. So by making your own solution, your own way to make something happen, helps make it unique. Let's do it. From the middle of the river. And that's when, or did they go there before? Where were they? This shot is me in my studio. It's exactly, I think it's somewhere between 4 and 4:30. I know that because that is the only time of day at this time of year that the sun comes through these windows. You can see I'm getting this bit of sunlight here. That is from this building up there. That's not even the actual sun. I get this light for about 30 to 45 minutes. It is beautiful lighting. But the first day I was setting everything up, and as I sat down to hit record, the sun went behind a building. So I shot this over probably 2 or 3 days, I think, because I had to do it multiple times because I kept missing the light. But I added a little bit of atmosphere into here. You know, maybe behind camera is a little fog machine that I got from Party City or something that's just adding a little bit of atmosphere so that you can see the light coming through from the window. I just wanted to keep everything here flat because this is the start of the video. I want you to be able to hop in and understand it very quickly. Cartoons do the same thing. It's very easy for your mind to figure out what's going on. So you can see me in my studio, in the environment, struggling a little bit. We're going to present the first problem of the video, which is that I'm exhausted because I don't want to narrate anymore. This transitions into the next shot, which is a match cut. So they're both right on top of each other. I lined them up, I think, by these corners and by this pillar in the background. This is our main character of the story. This is my Boombox narrator, Frank. This is where you get introduced to this story is something a little bit extra, maybe has a little more production value to it than you would normally see. My approach to lighting here is just to make everything clear. The boombox lights up first, the rest of the room lights up, then the studio where I sit down to tell this story. Most of the time it's just me in my studio, so I'll kind of try to pre-set up some lights. Frank here is lit by a light that's way off camera here. This is a disco ball light that is maybe $30 on Amazon. I don't have a fancy like spotlight aperture full thing, so disco light did the trick. Later on in the shot, there's like another light back here. This one's a little bit brighter, but it helps light up the room. In my lighting kit is a disco ball light. It's $30 from Amazon. That's a nice spotlight, so it gives you a nice like circle. Then it's an Amaran 60X. It's like the cheapest Amaran you can get, but it does the trick, especially in a darker room. The other is an aperture little box. It's about as big as a deck of cards. I use that light a lot for if I'm opening like a chest and then, you know, a glowing aura emits from it. Those lights are fun because they're small and easy to kind of put in little corners. I think like the other part of my kit, as cheesy as it sounds, is my brain. Because there's a lot of little tricks you can do. You can set up your subject to face the light, to be full on, maybe glowing. You can have them backlit so that they just have like kind of a rim of light around them. It looks a little more dramatic. They can be half lit. You can put the shadow, you know, just by turning your subject, put the shadow on part of their face. In New York, a lot of times the sun will reflect off of a building, off of the glass of a building, and then back. And so then you'll get this weird effect where people will be kind of in shadow, but then lit up still. So sometimes I'll shoot in those areas, or putting somebody in sunlight, like when there's shadow behind them, kind of helps spotlight them. For a lot of my videos, these are my YouTube videos. So I've been shooting these on an FX30. This camera is good in low light. It's got just about all the settings on it. It doesn't have a full frame sensor, which is fine because it's a lot cheaper than an FX3. I'm still learning cameras, so when I learn enough, then I'm gonna upgrade. But I try not to spend too much money on cameras. And I have a Sigma 18 to 50 something, and then I have a 70 to 200. A lot of times though, I shoot on my iPhone. The new iPhone 15 has log, so I will usually shoot on that and then mess with the colors a little bit. You can mess with the colors, but also it turns off the digital sharpness and digital kind of tricks that iPhone is doing to help make your videos nice and pretty. It looks almost like a little cinema camera with that. So, and then I have a ZV-E10 that I use for some stuff, but that's just sort of like a backup camera. I use a Rode shotgun mic and then DJI lav mics. So in this shot here, I have a lav mic on. Those are great because you can either wear them, you can hide them, but you get really clear sound. Okay, goodbye shot. This shot is about my fingers. Oh no.
It did not go according to plan.
Not during filming this, but before. I cut off my pinky finger and this second finger of my left hand. This is a shot where I was trying to illustrate that without getting too dark or sad. There's a whole nother video about that you can watch. I kind of explain the whole situation. This shot is a sillier version of what happened. At the time, when I was coming back to the studio and like getting back to building things, I thought I might need to use a shot like this. So this is actually filmed probably a week or two after I cut my fingers off. This is me in my studio. You can see it's still new. There's not a lot of stuff going on here because I'm building it. These are 2 little clay fingers that I made. They have tiny little clay bones in them that I then cut out and used After Effects to animate them flying off. I wanted my reaction to this to be very straight, very like not dramatic, like, oh no. If I react crazy, then the audience will get freaked out. I added a like sound effect to it to make it also kind of silly and cartoony. And then they clatter onto the floor. That is me holding a blue sheet of plywood and then tilting it. And so then the fingers are like this. And then I tilt it and the fingers roll off. And then I reversed that shot. So that whole thing is actually a reverse of, I had to animate everything beforehand. So I like animate, I think them falling a little bit, picking them up. And then I rolled them. So then they roll off screen and then I reversed that so that they would land right exactly in the spot that I wanted to. The first couple times I did that shot, I tried to roll the fingers like right into the right position and I failed like 3 times. So doing it in reverse was actually a lot easier. I grew up in Texas building fences and decks and skate ramps and tree houses and whatever. When I moved to New York, nobody I knew could build. I realized that if I could help my friends build stuff, I could make friends. And so I would just go to parties or wherever and somebody would be like, "Oh, I just got this new TV. I can't hang it on the wall." And I'd be like, "Hey, I'm Jordan. I'll help you hang it up." And they were like, "Oh, okay, cool." And so I made a bunch of friends that way. And then also kind of found my niche in that space as well because making matters to me so much. It's literally my favorite thing to do. And I won't stop doing it even if I cut my fingers off. So hopefully you found this helpful. Thanks for watching.